You've done this before. Don't skip, because this isn't just a story. This is something you've lived. That moment when you knew something wasn't right, but you did it anyway. Not because you had to, not because you were forced, but because it felt small. So small, it didn't seem worth thinking about. You told yourself, it's not a big deal. No one's gonna notice. I'll fix it later. And then you moved on. Like it didn't matter. Like it didn't count. Like it wasn't part of who you are. But here's the part no one warns you about. That moment didn't disappear. It didn't stay small. It didn't end when you walked away. Because every time you ignore that voice in your head, the one that says this isn't right, you don't just make a choice. You change something inside you, quietly, without realizing it. And the scariest part? You don't feel the damage when it happens. You feel it later, when it's already become a pattern. Most people think their life falls apart because of one big mistake, one bad decision, one moment where everything goes wrong. But that's not how it happens. Not in real life. Because real damage doesn't come from one moment. It comes from the ones you repeat. The small ones. The ones you ignore. The ones you quietly justify until they don't feel wrong anymore. Because every time you silence that voice in your head, the one that tells you to stop, you don't just move forward. You move away from who you used to be. And it doesn't feel like a big change. There's no warning, no sudden shift, just a slow adjustment. A slight drop in your standards, a small compromise in your values, and then another, and another, until one day, you're doing things that once made you uncomfortable, without even thinking about them. That's how it happens. Not through chaos, through repetition, through comfort, through the quiet decision to let something slide, again and again, until it becomes part of you. There was a man named Daniel, and the truth is, he wasn't very different from you. He didn't see himself as a bad person. He didn't wake up thinking about doing something wrong. He had plans. He had responsibilities. He had standards. At least, he used to. He showed up to work, paid his bills, tried to do the right thing most of the time. From the outside, everything looked normal, stable, predictable, safe. And that's exactly what made it dangerous. Because nothing in his life felt out of control. Nothing felt broken. Nothing felt like it was leading somewhere bad. It just felt easy, comfortable, like he had everything handled. But underneath that, something small had already started to shift. Not in a way anyone could see. Not in a way anyone would question. Just in the way he made decisions. The way he ignored certain thoughts. The way he let certain things slide, without stopping himself anymore. And that's how it begins. Not with a big mistake. Not with a moment that changes everything. But with a version of you that slowly stops correcting itself. If this feels a little too familiar, don't ignore it. Because most people don't realize they're changing until they're already someone else. Daniel worked in a warehouse. Long hours, same routine every day. Boxes in, boxes out. Nothing exciting. Nothing that required much thought. Just repetition. And over time, that kind of environment does something to you. It makes everything feel automatic. One afternoon, near the end of his shift, he noticed something. A small item. Nothing expensive. Nothing important enough for anyone to track closely. It had probably been sitting there all day, unmoved, unnoticed. He picked it up, turned it in his hand for a second, looked around. No one nearby. No one paying attention. Just the quiet hum of machines and distant footsteps. And in that moment, nothing felt serious. Nothing felt risky. It was just an opportunity. A small one. The kind that doesn't feel like a decision. until it is. A thought appeared. It wouldn't matter if this disappeared. Not loud, not forceful, just enough. And then another. It's just this once. He stood there for a few seconds longer than he needed to. Not frozen, not afraid, just deciding. And then, without saying anything to himself, he slipped it into his pocket and kept moving, like nothing had happened. Nothing happened. No alarms, no sudden noise, no one calling his name, no one stopping him at the door. He finished his shift, walked out like he always did, blended in with everyone else leaving for the day. And that was it. Just another normal day. But that's exactly what made it dangerous. Because when you do something wrong and nothing pushes back, your brain starts changing the story. At first, there's a small tension, a quiet awareness. Something inside you knows it wasn't right. But when that tension isn't met with consequences, it doesn't grow, it fades, and something else replaces it. Comfort, relief, even a strange sense of control. Daniel didn't feel like he had done something bad. Not anymore. He felt like he had gotten away with something. And that feeling is more addictive than people realize. Because now, the question isn't, was it wrong? The question becomes, why wouldn't I do it again? And once your mind starts asking that, you're no longer resisting. You're considering. That night, Daniel thought about it again. Not because he was afraid, not because he felt guilty, but because his mind wasn't finished with it. Moments like that don't just disappear, they come back. Quietly, when everything else is silent, he replayed it. The shelf, the item, the empty space around him, and then something shifted. Not in what happened, but in how he explained it. They don't pay me enough. It's a big company, they won't even notice. I work harder than most people here. The more he thought about it, the more it started to make sense. Not emotionally, logically, and that's what makes it dangerous. Because when your mind turns something wrong into something reasonable, you stop questioning it. Daniel didn't see himself as someone who stole. He saw himself as someone who adjusted the balance, someone who took a little back. And once that story feels right, you don't feel like you need to fix anything anymore. Because in your mind, nothing is broken. And that's the moment everything actually is. A few days later, Daniel found himself in the same situation again. Same aisle, same kind of item, same quiet moment where no one was paying attention. But this time, something was different. He didn't stop. He didn't stand there thinking. He didn't question himself the way he did before, because the first time had already answered that question. And the answer was simple. Nothing happens. So his hand moved without hesitation, picked it up, slipped it away, kept walking. No pause, no tension, no internal conflict, just action. And that's how patterns are formed, not through big decisions, but through repeated moments that feel smaller each time. Because once your brain accepts something, it stops treating it like a choice. It starts treating it like behavior. And behavior, repeated enough times, becomes identity. Daniel wasn't trying something anymore. He wasn't making a mistake. He was becoming someone who did this, without thinking, without questioning, without stopping. And that's the part people don't see coming. It's not the action that traps you. It's how easily it starts to feel like you. Think about this. What are you doing right now, without thinking, that you once had to convince yourself to do? But something else started to change. Something Daniel didn't expect. And it didn't happen outside. It happened inside him. At first, it was subtle, almost unnoticeable. The way he looked at people, the way he listened to conversations, the way he reacted to small things. He started paying more attention, not out of awareness, but out of suspicion. A simple question felt different. A normal glance felt longer than it should. Even silence felt like it meant something. Because when you start living in dishonesty, you lose something you don't realize right away. You lose your sense of safety, not because the world changed, but because you did. Daniel wasn't afraid of being caught. Not exactly. He was afraid of something deeper, being seen clearly. Because once you cross a line enough times, you stop trusting your own intentions. You stop believing in your own decisions. And when that happens, you don't just doubt others. You start doubting yourself. And that kind of uncertainty doesn't stay quiet for long. Pay attention to this. When did you start overthinking things that used to feel simple? Sometimes it's not them. It's what's already changed inside you. Weeks passed. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. Life kept moving the way it always had. Same job. Same routine. Same quiet confidence that everything was still under control. And that's what made it dangerous. Because when nothing happens, you start believing nothing will. But then, something small changed. Inventory numbers didn't match. Not by much, just small differences. Easy to ignore, easy to explain, but consistent. Too consistent. Management didn't react right away. They didn't accuse. They didn't confront. They just noticed. And then they watched. Quietly, carefully, tracking patterns, reviewing movements, connecting details. Because real consequences don't arrive with noise. They build in silence. And Daniel felt it. Not in what people said, but in what they didn't say. The way conversations paused. The way questions lingered a little longer. The way normal things stopped feeling normal. And for the first time, something inside him shifted again. Not confidence. Pressure. This is the part most people don't recognize. Not when they do something wrong, but when it quietly starts coming back. Daniel felt it. Not because anyone said anything directly. Not because there was proof. But because something inside him wouldn't stay quiet anymore. Every normal moment started to feel different. A simple question felt heavier than it should. A casual look felt like it lasted too long. Even silence felt like it was saying something. He tried to act the same, tried to stay calm, tried to convince himself that everything was still fine. But his mind wouldn't let him. Because once you've crossed your own line enough times, you don't need someone else to accuse you. You do it to yourself. Over and over again. Every thought, every memory, every small detail he had ignored before came back. Louder, clearer, impossible to push away. And that's when the real pressure begins. Not when people find out, but when you can't hide from yourself anymore. Think about this. What are you trying to ignore right now? That keeps coming back when it's quiet? Then it happened. Not the way he imagined. Not loud, not dramatic. Just quiet. His manager called him in, closed the door. No anger, no accusations. Just a simple conversation. Too simple, too calm. They asked a few questions. Nothing direct. Nothing that proved anything. But Daniel couldn't answer the way he normally would, because something inside him had already broken. It wasn't about what they knew. It was about what he knew. Every word felt heavier. Every second felt longer. Because in that moment, he wasn't thinking about the job. He wasn't thinking about consequences. He was thinking about himself. About every time he said, "It's just a small thing." And suddenly, those small things didn't feel small anymore. They felt connected. They felt real. They felt like a version of him he couldn't deny. Daniel didn't lose his job that day. No one exposed him. No one called him out. From the outside, everything looked the same. Same routine. Same life. Same people. But inside, nothing was the same anymore. Because once you see yourself clearly, you can't unsee it. Every action felt heavier. Every decision felt different. Not because the world changed, but because he finally understood what he had been doing all along. He hadn't been taking small things. He had been giving something away, piece by piece, without noticing: his standards, his honesty, his self-respect. And that's how it works. Karma doesn't always come back as punishment. Sometimes it comes back as awareness. The kind you can't escape. The kind that stays with you long after everything else looks normal. So next time you say, "It's just a small thing," stop, because that's how it starts. Not big, not obvious, just small enough for you to ignore. And if you keep ignoring it, one day, you won't recognize who you've become. Follow this, because the next story might show you something you're not ready to see.